stupid number anyway. Paranoia, 1, a psychosis characterized by systematized delusions of persecution or grandeur, usually without hallucinations. I'd be willing to bet somebody got in a who hit John, and I bet they've been hallucinating since yesterday. Number 2, a tendency on the part of an individual or group toward excessive or irrational suspiciousness and distrustfulness of others. This gets serious when you have that sort of attitude toward yourself. Now, that word psychosis, right, as part of the definition for paranoia, fundamental derangement. Ooh, are you deranged? Of the mind characterized by defective or lost contact with reality. I would suggest that the United States government has lost it, that they got a psychosis going on in the great reality of living. Has anyone seen a loss of civility? People telling, if you and anybody looks like you over nothing at all. Are there incidents that you have seen? Fear, driving chaos into anarchy, disrespect, and fights? Ooh, there's a whole bunch of that stuff all over Facebook showing people fighting over toilet paper. Witnessing people losing it over a roll of toilet paper? Nah, yeah, well, guess what? It don't get better, it gets worse. What could be worse? Well, ordinarily, cool and calm people are exactly together. They couldn't give a shit less, strolling along, just, all calm, cool, and collected, and they go to the store and they get their stuff and they go home. No big deal. However, then you start seeing people act funny. It ain't quite the way you're supposed to be, dude. And the survival instinct goes, what if? What if? It's kind of like the alarm clock going off. Get up, get up, get up. Come on, slave. Get out of the bed. Time to support all these welfare people. And your survival instinct goes, what if? Maybe. I just might need to protect myself. I got an article, a couple of them actually, just to let you know. Fires fears fuel spike in sales of guns and ammo. This is from Boise, Idaho, Associated Press. I'm going to read this article. I think you need to hear it. The world's largest gun store in metro Atlanta has headlines that are 6 and 8 people deep. A gun store in L.A. headlines that stretch down the block. This is in Los Angeles, California, the place where you can't have guns. Down the block. And at least one store in Idaho put limits on sales after its shelves were nearly cleared out. Just as grocery stores have been stripped bare by Americans panicked by coronavirus, guns and ammunition have started flying off the shelves. Retailers say the buying frenzy is being fueled by consumers who are worried that people are becoming so desperate and unpredictable, need to ensure that they can protect themselves. Think about that very carefully. You might need that. I get into that a little bit. It's been insane, said Jay Wallace, who owns Adventure Outdoors in Smyrna, Georgia, adding that his ammunition sales are up more than 5 times the usual numbers. Now, this includes ammunition. This is like a Rod Serling Twilight Zone episode, he says. Sales spiked in a matter of days. Industry experts say some of the purchases are made by people buying their first firearm. They don't know which end the bullet comes out of, but they're getting a gun. Others are existing gun owners adding to their collection or stocking up on ammunition after seeing grocery stores depleted, schools closed, big events canceled, including National Rifle Association's national annual meeting. Also potentially driving sales are concerns that elected officials may try to restrict access to firearms. They're not quite yet, but You talk about broken supply chains. Do you remember the ammunition shortages and stuff? Well, guess what? Here we go again. A mayor in Illinois recently signed an executive order, executive order, that would give her the right to ban the sale of guns or ammunition, as did the mayor of New Orleans. Ooh. Specific data on the size of the sales spike will not be available until next month. But already this year, background checks are up considerably over last year, like triple. According to data from the FBI, just over 5.5 million background checks were conducted in January and February combined. Now, when you do a background check, that means you're buying your first firearm. That means these are the beginners. Hello. A lot of us out here have had practice for years, but here comes the greenies. Gun sales generally rise in an election year. Hello, Obama. As it did in 2016. But this past January and February have outpaced 2016 by nearly 350,000 people. Think about it. Betsy Terrell, a 61-year-old resident of Decatur, Georgia, said she thought for years about purchasing a handgun and decided to finally get one after seeing chaos at the local Costco. Now, with long lines and people stockpiling goods. Chaos. Well, went to Kroger's last week, and guess what? There wasn't any carts left. There were lines at the checkout. No toilet paper. And all of the hand sanitizers is gone. She feels that the metro Atlanta area already has a lot of crime. She's worried that if the economy tanks, and believe it's on its way, crime will rise even more. I was beginning to see people act oddly. That was a little unnerving, she said. I feel there's a potential political upheaval. Think revolution. It's a good possibility. It's scary, she says. It's only now I felt that this overwhelming need to arm myself to protect myself. Oh. And she was just going to Costco, spending the past couple of weeks stocking up on food, coffee, water, and medicine for one of her cats. She thought it was time to act. She went to Cabela's and was shocked to see the lines that were 2 and 3 deep. Many guns were out of stock, as well as some rounds of ammunition. But she was able to pick up a Glock 42 handgun. Oh, there we go. If it sits in my nightstand, if I never touch it, I'm happy about that. It was a decision she's somewhat surprised she took. She has a lot of friends who oppose firearms and won't be advertising her purchase on Facebook. I'm crashing your line. I thought I'd never crash. Wonder. I got another one to read. This is from Gun Tests, and the title of it is Downrange by Todd Woodard. He's the editor. A blueprint to take your guns. Here we go. Now, this is some of the fun, unconstitutionality, and other horse hockey that's going on by the liberal, I'm sorry, pansies, snowflakes, and other people who need coloring books in a safe place. A blueprint to take your guns. A document produced jointly by the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, horse hockey, the Giffords Gun Control Group, and the Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence is raising alarms for the Second Amendment Foundation. And gun test readers should also be aware of what's in its playbook. Second Amendment Foundation has learned about a new toolkit for gun control lobbying groups to help them campaign for passage of extreme risk protection orders, a.k.a. red flags or ERPOs. And he states, I've written previously about how dangerous ERPOs are to gun owners' rights and how gun confiscation in California and Florida are much higher than anticipated. What's that mean? That means they're using it to excess. The ERPOs are designed to take firearms from people based on allegations from family members, intimate partners, or others. Really? They run roughshod over due process rights, much less the Second Amendment. The ERPO document lays out a how-to strategy to expand red flag laws in additional states and jurisdictions. Second Amendment Foundation founder and executive vice president Alan M. Gottlieb said of the gun-grabbing ERPO manual, "There's a lot in it about taking someone's guns, but only 2 paragraphs about returning firearms to the rightful owner." Gottlieb takes issue with many parts of the document, pointing out the inclusion of a letter from a California sheriff's official that referred to a May 2014 multiple murder in Isla Vista, California, as a shooting spree. 6 victims in that rampage were stabbed or slashed to death. Think about it. I'll say it again. You need to catch this. 6 victims in that rampage were stabbed or slashed to death. It also suggests the shooting occurred at the University of California, Santa Barbara campus, but it didn't. The term gun violence appears throughout, but there's not a word about knife violence, nor any mention of the fact that the killer brought 3 firearms, all legally with background checks and waiting periods. We're all for preventing violent crimes and tragedies such as suicide, he added, but there are genuine civil rights and due process concerns related to the use of such orders to disarm anyone or someone following a court hearing that they may not even be aware of. They don't have to tell you before they have a chance to defend against any allegations. Oh, he waves his gun all over the place. He shoots in his backyard. Oh, he's dangerous. This guide to search guns are temporarily removed, but that is not really the case in some instances. The ERPO document calls itself a toolkit for saving lives, but talk more about taking guns from people than protecting their rights and means of self-defense. So far as I can tell, this is just another gun control strategy guide aimed at preventing gun ownership, infringing, you might say, rather than preventing tragedies. Now, that's just guns. Oh, my goodness. To be blunt, this is not some sort of BS fear porn. What I've been just relating to you is real. The reality of the red flag laws is that they're unconstitutional for starters. So far, there have not been robberies in parking lots. So far, think about having to be armed to go get groceries. Because if you got groceries, somebody's going to want it. And if that someone wants it and don't have any means to get any, but they got a gun, you could be in trouble. However, so far, there ain't been robberies in parking lots so far. However, insanity has no limits. At present, America is or has effectively shut down. Anybody don't believe that, wait until Monday morning. That's when the last of the edicts from the federal or state government call for the shutdown of anything that is not prime services, goods, people, etc. There's a total lack of means, and many people are subject to the mainstream media hyping things over the top of reason and all that fair porn shit. Think of a time when you had to be armed to go to and from a grocery. Yeah, think about that. There were a few isolated robberies during the height of the Great Depression, but very few. And things have changed since then. The idea of shooting someone is very much more normal for many reasons. Ooh. A person in the Ukraine told me about going out for any reason, being a life and death proposition. He didn't know if you're going to get artillery shells or what from their own people, their own government, blowing things up just because they wanted to have target practice. If our situation continues to degrade, expect a combat condition to prevail. That means you're going to have to you're going to have to borrow the welder, get you some steel, and armor plate the Subaru or the Toyota, just get to and from. Think in terms of everyday people becoming desperate because there is no out. We got a bunch of people that obviously don't like that idea. They wouldn't be buying all the guns and ammo. And believe me, they're buying it up. Everyone cannot get what they need, not just shit that you might want, but what they need. Exactly what will they do? And to whom? Large metro areas and big cities have little in the way of supplies of food and water. You might find a grocery or two, or maybe a supply house or two. That's the end of it. Well, you divide that by 1 million, there ain't much. Think, all those people will sit down and starve? Really? Expect migration. And not only the people that can migrate that are physically capable and generally armed are the ones that are going to go looking. Where are they going to look for? They're going to look for somebody that looks like they've been having good meals lately. Mm-hmm. Our area, that's where I'm at up in the woods, is ready to close itself off from all that through armed barricades. Our area is gun country and ready to defend itself. Where does that go in terms of all the people who now have no income? That's the question. What would you do to feed people who depend on you? How far would you go? I mean, come on. Catch up, computer. Wake up. There you go. There's a whole bunch of things involved in what's going on. And the problem is that a lot of people are not going to play the game. The ideology that we can do something about this by throwing money at it is about as bogus as it gets. China's back to normal. No, sorry. China's got a long way before that happens. Now, the Fed is looking to send money to everyone. Whoopee. And they still got 2 to 6 weeks to wait for it. How hungry are you going to get before that happens? And then will the bank be open so you can cash it? How many times can that be done, and for how long? And like I just said, how about when? They're still arguing about it in the Senate. Now, the Senate, as far as I'm concerned, is a bunch of dirty dogs. Now it's coming up. As I've said before, if you didn't or can't prepping, you ain't prepping, you most likely will be in trouble. And I'm talking about life and death, deep shit trouble. Most can get 10 to 50-pound bags of rice and beans for reasonable prices. Better than starving. So add something to flavor it with. It could be something as funky as Spam or as nice as heavy-duty Mexican fare. I mean, and there's a lot of that. At one point or another, you will be on your own. And people aren't getting that part of it because nobody in the mainstream media has got the guts to put that out there. Question is, are you ready? It is possible that this could last years or the effect of it. It's possible. As I stipulated about the Great Depression, it took 21 years to get back to normal. Think about that very carefully. As a matter of fact, remember the Great Depression started in 29. The recovery took from 1933 to 1954, a period of 21 years. Think long term, as at present, the markets are down to 68.9% of what they were. That's a 31% drop. Well, as of Friday, that's yesterday, last day that it was open this week, they're only at 65%. Think about it. That's the 35%, not 31% drop. If an antiviral is made available, it works, then all the cases stop. Then everything can open back up and America can go back to work. things can start the road to recovery. What's recovery? Well, how about my take? Bring on gallons of the antiviral and offer everyone this shot free. Get a certification. It allows those who get it to go back to work. 2 copies, one for an employer and one to carry. Business could screen those coming in. Further, quick detection offers immediate yes or no. The longest result times are a few hours. This is the new electronic detector. Do all this as a service to we the people. Now, all of that I was talking about before, they're beginning to do this. As of Thursday, they're beginning to do the immediate emergency, go after it. Do all this as a service. Those who deal with international, be it travel goods or services, screen them and offer all of them the shot. Oh, boy. I write faster than I think faster than I write, and I leave letters out and stuff. Now, estimated time for the world to be cured is 3 weeks. Now, this is in the works. China's doing it, South Korea's doing it, and a bunch of others. So you got gun sales 3 to 5 times normal, plus ammo. All over America, police are no longer arresting or jailing crooks for their crimes. They're afraid they're going to spread the bug, and they don't have the capability of taking care of people that got the bug. More fear porn. Then you see people starting to act out. It's some funny looking, them people that are funny looking at Costco that this lady's talking about. Well, some just look at you a little bit funny for a little too long. Others stare like some stealthy predator out of the corner of their eye, looking away when looked at. Ooh, loud arguments turn into all-out fights. More and more. Combination of sensory overload and all-out panic overrules any reason you have left. And you become one of the crazies. These emotional events lead to the paranoia and loss of security and safety. With all normal activity forbidden, everything shut down, what do you expect? Think about getting hungry. What are you going to do when you get hungry? You're going to eat. How you going to do that if you ain't got no money to get no groceries? You go get them by whatever means you need to do, depending on the big if the present situation can be handled, how much of what we are familiar with will be left when they get done with it all. Then you got the second big if, and this is a big one. This is something that's been foretold about. And second big if, brings out the apocalyptic of losing all civil society. Ooh, most can hold out for a while, but none can hold out forever. I got a limitation on how much food I got, and how long it'll last. Whether I'm a big eater or a small eater don't matter. I studied several models of sanctuary camps, those places where you can go to hide out from everything until it all straightens back up again. None are engineered to last long term. None. I don't care what the so-called experts that are selling you high-priced basements at. That doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is that I looked at them and they ain't engineered to last long term. Is it possible that the old tribal feudalism might be our future? Is it possible? And the problem is, yes. But remember, possible. It's not definite. This is not absolute. However, we, that's a royal we, collectively, all of us, can stop the kick the can down the road BS. A report on the news stated that 5 virus killers had been identified. Well, how come we ain't got 55-gallon drums of them at the local health food store where we can get us a jolt? Put a couple drops in a little bitty bottle and sell it for $5, whatever. This could prompt officials to ignore the FDA. This should prompt officials to ignore the FDA approval, the CDC, and bring on these antidotes. FDA, see if you can keep up. 5 of them, and our testing time runs 6 months. Baby cakes, we ain't got 6 months. Then they turned that around. Oh, we misspoke. It was 6 weeks. Really? We ain't got that long either. Then again, the Senate didn't vote. The Senate, this is collectively, the Senate didn't vote to help when it could have. So, my. Shows how much they care, doesn't it? Think about that. Oh, well, I'm getting my filet of sole and pheasant under glass. Why should I worry about the people? Now they're voting. They were told that I heard what they were told, and it's supposed to be a classified memo, but it ain't classified anymore. It's out there. They were told, come in and vote, or we're going to do some nasty things to you and your position. Think about it. Remember that 2007 movie, Live Free or Die Hard? That was about everything shutting down. You remember that? Think about it. Bruce Willis and some kid and a bunch of computer hacking and all that. There were many disaster movies before that. But the history goes back to before the last global catastrophe, some 13,000 BC. That was the last one, and it wasn't really all that terrible. All people except a few thousand were wiped out. Now, who's ready if your world, society, and structure collapses? Ooh. Now, that 13,000 BC is the return of man. In other words, now all of a sudden there's records. Had to carve it in stone because there wasn't no paper. They're using it for butt wipe. The apocalypse took place around 25 to 28,000 years ago. 12,000 years to recover is a long time. I mean, no one has mentioned this on mainstream media except the History Channel. Think about that. How much fun could we have in this mess? Now, beyond that or before that, up to about 5 million years ago, give or take, several great civilizations vanished before any of this. Now, the problem we got now is that the snowflake generation don't know how to do nothing. They don't know, let alone think or have any skills or anything. And the problem points itself out. Most will not survive if this happens now. These podunk wannabes ain't got the wherewithal in terms of thinking and a bunch of other stuff that is required to be able to have some ingenuity to the extent that you can survive. Then we got some magazines. March 30th, 2020. The Nation. Sanders for president. Well, that goes in the toilet. Why? Dropped out. Oh, this was a gift. There's another article. Bloomberg's own staff wasn't even enthusiastic about him. Now, the Dems have some serious problems. They have screwed over people of color for about 100 years, give or take, hard. And by hard, I mean, look at the conditions of the cities, of the towns, of the, that are run, supposedly, by Democrats. Well, the title of the story is Black Voters Matter and Other Lessons Learned from the Democratic Primaries. Dude, you guys are screwed. All we have is the institutions, organizations, and relationships we built. That's why politicians come to black churches in the South. That's why a lot of activists down here are also educated and religious leaders. It's why Dem party meetings take place in church basements. That is quite literally the establishment for us. hiding in the basement. How about that one out with slavery? Oh, I forgot. Slavery didn't really go out, did it? Then we got Eric Alderman, a dastardly sort who does not have any morality because he likes to repeat the worst. Now, outside of Biden saying he was going to go after 2 Supreme Court justices, I heard there was a statement by one of them leading Democrats. President Trump is cooking up coronavirus in the West Wing. Shit like that. Well, Trump's deadly bullshit. No, it's yours. The president cannot recognize reality amid a pandemic. That's terrifying. Rule changes. Oh, really? That would have affected the way the Food and Drug Administration approved tests during the current crisis. That's a lie. What do you mean he didn't do it? It was done long before you wrote this article, Mr. Alderman. And you got this Washington Post, CNN, New York Times. I mean, they haven't had credible news in forever. Steve Scalise, shame on them for trying to play politics with the coronavirus. Yeah. Hello, Eric. How you doing, dude? I don't think you're doing so well. President's bullshit. Many of the mainstream. Here's the deal. The Apprentice. You remember that show? Reverse engineer the show to make it look like his judgment. This is Trump. Had some basis in reality. And one of them is sometimes very hard to do. Many in the mainstream media have defined their jobs the same way, like you, Eric. Oh my, Ellie Mistel is complaining about the federal judiciary has done far too little to respond to abuse within its ranks. First of all, it's needed to be clean. The house needs to be clean. You need a clean house. Any attempt to adjust things and have direct and real oversight won't work. So, you're picking on something that's funky. Now, they got a big old article in here. And it's called Saint Bill with a question mark. They're referring to Bill Gates. The only thing I got to say about Bill Gates is that he ought to be executed very publicly, very slowly, one piece at a time. He's the dinglebat turkey mother that owns the patent on the coronavirus. Think about that. Think about that. My. How far does it go before you put your foot down and say no more? Oh, California fights Trump for clean air. Sorry, California, you're cut off. Clean Air Act, the one allowing it to set stricter standard vehicle emissions, was being revoked. And it has. You people think you're in charge of the world? You ain't anymore. Supreme Court ruling, Massachusetts versus EPA, which established the principle that states have the right to regulate greenhouse gases, even if they can't set their own fuel efficiency requirements. That's where they made the mistake. They did not follow what is known. Oh, profits of instability. How finance broke the modern corporation. It broke the United States. 62 book, Capitalism and Freedom. Milton Friedman gave a blunt answer. Profit. Few trends could so thoroughly undermine the very foundations of our free society as the acceptance by corporate officials of a social responsibility other than to make as much money for their stockholders as possible. I hope that hits home. That's their only so-called responsibility in the whole of the world. That's it. Now, you think about that very carefully. Whew, then we get the week, March 20th. Oh, boy, that's yesterday and done expired. Editor's letter. Mark Gaiman. Well, he's supposed to be the managing editor, and I don't think he manages to edit much. But here's the deal on all of the fun and games. Magazine Goes Press, U.S. has passed its 1,000th officially tallied case of coronavirus infection. Oh, guess what? as far as the coronavirus goes, the reality is we just don't know. Oh, my goodness. No, you wouldn't. We're going to be where Italy stood 11 days ago. Ooh, however little we know about this virus, we have a frighteningly good idea where we are likely to be in 11 days. Really? Fear porn, fear porn, fear porn. My bullshit meter just went off scale. Now, coronavirus cases and deaths spike across the. It's super flu. And these people are trying to argue that it's not. Well, they're lying to you. I just found one little cute thing here. It wasn't all bad. It's a group of little short stories and then little one-paragraph jobs. This guy at the age of 111 was asked what the secret to his longevity was, and he said the secret to his longevity has been to avoid dying. That's a good aspect. That's a nice positive outlook. Warren, did sexism doom her campaign? No, idiocy did. Ooh, don't you love it? Italy. Now, Italy had something is almost as good as that little old man in terms of nice fun and games that went on. Costa Verto, Italy, where for 3 hours red wine flowed from domestic faucets following a malfunction at a local winery. At a time when we have very little to smile about, I'm glad we brought some levity to others. Yeah, I'm getting levitated. I'll fill the bathtub and everything that'll hold something. Oh, Legacy Media doing something for the people. After the Australian newspaper NT News printed a special edition. It had 8 blank pages for use as toilet paper, currently in short supply. Some news media people get it. Many don't. Alabama, oh my goodness. No, let's go to Detroit. Spying on the libs. The idea was to make recorded copy files and records, record conversations that could be made public to damage the Union. Oh, Alabama, payback. President Trump dealt a crushing blow this week to former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, endorsing his opponent in Alabama's Republican Senate primary. And it's pretty obvious Sessions deserted Trump by recusing himself in the Russia probe. Man, you stepped in it, now how's the water? Up to your chin or above your nose and you're having to tread water? Dublin, St. Patrick's Day canceled. Now that's you don't do that sort of thing without some kind of somebody saying you gotta. Well, I wonder who told them that. Nationwide shutdown. This is Rome. The Italian government this week placed its country's entire population of 60 million people on lockdown. Stay home. Don't run nowhere. Hague, Netherlands. War crimes fight. The Trump administration denounced the International Criminal Court last week, after it authorized an investigation into allegations of war crimes by U.S. forces in Afghanistan. You people are stupid. And the reason I say that is you need to go over and see what they do to each other. You cannot imagine any of the nasty stuff that they do to each other just when they don't agree. War crimes? Is it a war crime for somebody to slowly cut pieces off of somebody? Think about it. The U.S. is not a member of the International Criminal Court either. Khartoum, Sudan. Oh, boy. Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok survived an assassination attempt this week after unknown attackers targeted his motorcade with explosives and firearms. Whoops, you missed. I mean, there is some good news. Now, Barr needs radical oversight. This is from the Washington Post. I think the Washington Post needs radical oversight. A federal judge accused William Barr of a lack of candor. That's supposed to be something that you can accuse somebody of. Suggests the Attorney General pre-spun the findings of Robert Mueller's Russia investigation to politically benefit President Trump. Will White House Democrats let him get away with it? Well, House Democrat, they will. And the answer is yes. Why? They don't have the backbone to stand up, for one thing. The mob silences Woody Allen. This is Wall Street doing this over to Woody Allen's life story is officially canceled. He's a pedophile, been so for years, nasty mother. And then you got this other one, no coup. This is from National Review. According to the dictionary, a coup is the illegal, often violent seizure of power from a government. Now, if we have I hate to inform everybody, but if we have a revolution, expect to do that, participate in it, or he probably won't be around much. Nobody wanted Sanders' socialist agenda. So, a sense of entitlement courses through our culture. Snowflakes feel like they're entitled to everything. You get people that are immigrating. I want my big screen TV and my condo. Right. People assume everything must go their way, and when it doesn't, that the system is rigged. Not content with hating the players, they hate the game, too. Socialism versus capitalism. Very simple. Oh, boy. Germany, the big hole that's opening up in Brussels. Ooh, reality bites. And you people started telling Great Britain, the UK, you're going to do it our way or else. They told you to F off. Brexit is going to be costly for the European Union. The UK's departure from the bloc has blown an $81 billion hole in Brussels' budget for the next 7 years. And you leaders are having a tough time accepting that reality. Most people who don't believe in reality are socialists. Love it, don't you? European Union. Turkey uses refugees as a weapon. No. These refugees, been held by force in Turkey. All Turkey did was say, well, okay, you think you're in charge? Deal with this. Open the gates and the flood commenced. Pakistan, an uphill struggle for gender equality. It's doubtful that'll ever go anywhere other than a few people screaming and dancing around with signs. I mean, now, Ethiopia. Now, this is something that is going to happen in varying places all over the planet. But in this particular time, they picked Ethiopia. The potential for a war over water. Oh, my. Between Egypt and Ethiopia. Egypt, which sits downstream and has depended on the Nile for millennia, wants to ensure that the dam will not deprive it of vital resources. Very simply, water. Don't turn it off, Ethiopia. If there is a need to go to war, we could mobilize millions. That's what the Ethiopian says. Last time they tried something like that, everybody run the other way. Now, if you're going to attack somebody, you've got to go in the right direction. Oh, boy. COVID-19, the coming lockdown. Well, everything is closed. Now, is your town a ghost town? There's lots of them out there. Ain't a soul on the street. And all you got is a few little pieces of paper floating in the wind. And a funny hoarse howl in the background of the ghosties. Supreme Court unleashing the whirlwind. That's this Schumer. You will pay the price. Schumer, you should be in jail, not running loose right now, because you threatened with bodily harm to Supreme Court justices, like it or not. Twitter, Wall Street, Silicon Valley cultural clash. And you know what the problem is? It ain't profitable enough. They want more money. That's all it is. Nothing more. Google won a spying case, $175 million judgment. And the breaking shows up into 10-minute blurbs for your phone. They got new tools to stop child porn. Well, we'll see how that works. And here we go, health scare of the week. Third-hand smoke exposure. If somebody's been around somebody that smokes. It gets in your clothes and your hair. It oozes out and gets everybody. Over 4 days, they observed sharp spikes, 35 tobacco-related chemicals, including all the nasty ones. By the end of the movie, and this isn't a movie theater, best way to check, patrons breathe in the equivalent of secondhand smoke from up to 10 cigarettes. Oh, whoopee, we all gonna die. Now, this is capital and ideology. If, and this is Rio de Janeiro, if inequality has become the subject of intense public attention, a good deal of credit goes to French economist Tom Piketty. Every human society must justify its inequalities. Well, the central argument Karl Marx made was capitalism is essentially as exploitative as feudalism or slavery. For remedy, a new socialism, state control over industry. Wealth redistribution would also be achieved by 90% tax. You guys have heard all this stuff. The benefit of shocking the center-left and center-right out of seeking merely incremental changes. Capitalism can't survive the growing evidence that it fails in its premise to give every person a fair chance at success. How much success does everybody have when other things shut down? Oh, boy. Return of the Hunt. That is a waste of time. That's where rich liberals hunt deplorables. That's essence. Never, rarely, sometimes, always. A routine seeks an abortion in a distant city. Sex and danger are inextricably intertwined. An indictment of today's abortion restrictions, really. Well, maybe you should have the responsibility not to get pregnant in the first place. Hello? Food and drink. Critics' choice. Yet another new life for the American diner. Sorry, it's closed. You done missed it. Oh boy. Scott. Bathroom tissues. That's butt wipe. In case you don't know, yes, you will need a 2-week supply of toilet paper. Well, I will strongly suggest that you should have already had a good supply to begin with and rotate the stock. The 2020 Mercedes GLB 250 is an SUV. Everybody's trying to take off from the success that that Chrysler had with their minivan, and they ain't getting anywhere or very much. Airlines devastated by coronavirus. Business has fallen 70% and or more. Antitrust. Senators urge scrutiny of Google. Senators of both parties took aim at Google and are pushed for more vigorous antitrust enforcement. Google, you might be in trouble if they really get into that. Former UAW head charged. Whoa, the scandal. Zarley and stared other union officials with 13 people pleading guilty since 2017. Oh, if you can think of it, the crime was committed in there. Yeah, nasty, huh? What else? Market crash yields refinance boom. Well, I did. Hell yes, they come and offered me a sweet deal. I took it. 2-hour wait to speak with a loan officer. Now, some lenders have expanded hours and hired staff to try to meet a demand running at 3 times the usual volume. It's absolute pandemonium. Well, guess what? Mine was all online. Didn't have to do squat. Took me about 20 minutes. I was done. New tax breaks for retirees. Really? Doesn't say anything about the poor people. Says a lot about people that make a lot of money. Okay, even lower now. Woo. Oil price war wreaks havoc on world markets. Oh, boy. Just exactly what do you think started the financial meltdown, breakdown, and fall over? Now, here's the deal. If you didn't prep like I told you, sticking money under the mattress, not in a bank, they can close the banks in a heartbeat. Now, who started all this mess? Well, the oil price war wreaks havoc on world markets between Russia and Saudi Arabia. More shock waves through a world economy already reeling from the coronavirus. I don't think the coronavirus is nearly that important. The Russian rebuff led Saudi Arabia to respond with fury, slashing pricing for crude by the most in more than 30 years. And that was roughly $31 a barrel. It's down to 22 and change, 24 and change. You get the expensive shit. But it knocked over the stock market, didn't it? We've lost 9,000 points. Think about it. The markets will weather this storm, this Wall Street Journal, as if they knew what the hell was going on. I'd tell you to keep watching. Don't. But the economy needs some help. Well, the bailouts. Oh, small businesses and people are supposed to get checks and all this other happy stuff. Well, if the Senate doesn't get off of their fat rear ends, what do you think? What do you think is going to be going on? People will get hungry long before any of that gets there. And then we got this National Review. There's a letter. Problems in the papacy. Oh, try thousands of years of nasty. I'm seriously nasty. I don't particularly like things that screw with good ideas. One of those being that the gendarmes went over and arrested a whole shitload of them just the other day. Oh, that only made one blurb in the news. Check it out. Make it go viral. And then you got critics of school vouchers often say that public schools are hurt when students leave for private schools. Supporters of vouchers say the opposite. When the public schools face competition, they're forced to get their act together. And I agree with that. Why do I agree with that? I've seen some of it in action where people at one point, quite honestly, weren't teaching anything. I have advocated for a long time now that we should improve public schools by teaching life skills. Life skills are different than what everybody might think. How to do the laundry. They had a college kid the other day, not too long ago, went viral on the internet, that stipulated that he got handed a can opener and didn't know what to do with it. Oh, good Lord. Then you got this one here, and this is National Review, March 23rd. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's actually a couple days ahead of time. Plagues and panics, ancient and modern. Here's what's critical. The world's reaction to the coronavirus is disproportionate to the threat. Just cheap antibiotics, modern medical care, and sophisticated sewage treatment and refuge collection have mostly ended the pandemic threat of typhus, typhoid, and bubonic plague. Apparently, our trust in modern drugs is such that we arrogantly do not even consider the chance of pandemic posed 500,000 or more homeless Americans who live outside in harsh weather amid vermin, excrement, and rodents on our major urban center sidewalks. Viruses mostly replaced bacteria until now. The A and B influenzas, despite mass inoculations, infect about 20 to 30 million Americans per year. So it don't matter if you got that shot. Anywhere between 100,000 and 80,000 die from seasonal influenzas, mostly the elderly or chronically sick. Just like right now with this emergency everybody's declared. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to something they don't have a clue about. The idea of a historic pandemic is not always fanciful. The Great Plague of Athens wiped out as many as 80,000 people. That's around 400 B.C. 2,500 years later, it remains a parlor game among classicists to identify the precise infectious culprit. They don't know who did it. Natural and man-made calamities like war and revolution, by the nature of their illogical violence and unprecedented, unpredictable mayhem, eventually rip off the thin veneer of civilization. Remember what I said? Watch it. reduce people to their animal essence in their instinctual and deadly competitive efforts to survive one more day. The mob and extremists will do almost anything and blame anyone and anything. Accelerated through filthy and dense populated cities. I've been trying to tell people to get the hell out. Bubonic plague killed 500,000 people back in 500 BC. The Black Plague, that's 1347 area, likely killed more than all the others. Half of the European population, or somewhere around 50 to 80 million people. This stuff is just a flu on steroids. The stricken publicly believed they were shortly to perish and should therefore satisfy their appetites in the time they had left. Oh, you can have a bunch of that if you ain't careful. Well, the appetite right now is going to be to feed your kids. We're in the midst of a frenzy. Oh, my goodness. China, ground zero. Oh, boy, fewer than 70,000 reported cases, fewer than 3,000 deaths in a population of 1.4 billion. Modern world, medically sophisticated, but it has not escaped the rumor, panic, hysteria that break out when unknown diseases strike. Ooh, got a coronavirus, go get all the shit paper you can. You might be holed up in your house for a long time. Gotta wipe that away. Ooh. Global population nearing 8 billion. 3,000 worldwide are known to have died. 3,000 out of 8 billion. Do the math. You talk about a really small percentage. And rural hometown of Selma, Central California. Experiment today to see whether disposable medical gloves, face masks, and hand cleansers are still in full supply at 3 national chain drug and food stores. All were sold out. And they have no shit paper either, I'll bet. The internet remains fervid with such theories and rumors. The unknowns of our pandemic remain endless. Oh, fear. It's that dark, creepy thing. Open borders and same-day transatlantic travel had helped to spread the disease. In the end, we're left with the irony that the hysterias of multi-billion-person postmodern world in reaction to a rather puny virus are about the same as those of pre-modern societies that sometimes lost nearly half their population from horrific plagues. In terms of hysterias, the more the world changes, the more people certainly remain the same. No big deal, but you got to don't go nuts. The counterweight to China and Asia, the importance of the American relationship with India, and Trump went over there and improved things tremendously. Believe me, take my word for it. I got people on the ground that verified what happened. We got a $3 billion arms sale out of a simple visit. Challenging an upgraded U.S.-India relationship remains possible. China's there. Consummate populists, though they are, Modi and Trump have an opportunity to build a future for the free world, one that channels national grievances toward the pursuit of shared international interests. Really? Well, how come we ain't got some kind of super antiviral going on real quick? Oh boy, nanny state Napoleon. Mike Bloomberg proves money can't buy you love. Outdone, rejected. February 19th looks like the most important day in this race so far. Bloomberg didn't just lose the Las Vegas debate. He got his posterior first skewered and then handed to him on a platter like a piece of chicken satay at one of his rallies. Over and done with, and Bernie's gone. Can the spirit of FDR, Truman, and JFK save the Democrats' political soul? The answer is no. Next coalition of the right, oh boy. Conservatives are arguing with one another about capitalism, nationalism, the founding, classical liberalism, the Enlightenment, and the proper relationship of church and state. They are not. These people, Ramesh Ponnuru and Yuval Levin, you don't have a clue. But the right's internal arguments have naturally come to be focused, as they often have been over the past century, on a conflict between libertarian economic thought and conservative social thought. The answer is no. Didn't happen. What they wanted for politics was a sense that government could be on their side, helping them live well and relieving some of the burdens they face rather than adding to them. That's what everybody hopes for politics. That's what everybody hopes with a new president. That's what everybody's looking for. Look at what we got now. Here we go. In FISA. And I say good luck. It's an unconstitutional mess that weakens national security and threatens civil liberties. True. And it ain't going to be easy to get this done. Now, FISA ostensibly provides due process, but the reality is that the FISC relies heavily on the executive branch. Well, no, it doesn't provide any due process. That was seen in the impeachment hearings. There's no mending FISA. It should be ended. I agree, along with the red flag laws. Innovation and new energy. Batteries are great, but we still need petroleum. Not really. And yes, I'm in the process of building the antidote to that as we speak. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Washington Examiner. Ooh, March 17th. Oh, it's out of date. Bummer. Back from the dead? Oh, Biden's climbing out of the grave. Dies in the general election. He's DOA. Why? He's toxic. And here's the reason. Okay, this is an editorial, but it's very, very succinct, and it comes to the point. March 17, 2020, Washington Examiner. Joe Biden is a liberal, not a moderate. Consider that. Why do you think, I said, really? You think? He's a socialist in sheep's clothes. The image is totally built on the fact that Biden has been running within a party whose left flank has been defined by socialist Senator Bernie Sanders. $1.5 trillion subsidized education. He's not going full AOC on the Green New Deal, but $1.7 trillion climate plan. Woo! Increased federal spending by more than $6 trillion. $3.2 trillion in tax increases, doubling the capital gains tax by taxing investments as ordinary income. Repeal Trump tax cuts. Increase taxes on the middle class. Biden is going apeshit. Simply, Biden's a liberal. More than obvious. Bye-bye, Bernie. Dropped out Wednesday, 3/18/20. Couldn't take the heat, so he got out the kitchen. And I agree that the boy should have been gone before he started. No, I just cleared my throat, I promise. A lot of talk on the street, and this is from Hugo Gordon, a letter from the editor. On the back stairs, I hear a couple of bankers from a floor above. But what if they only have a regular sore throat or cold? I mean, does everything shut down? It is. I suspect it's genuine fascination with the virus. Oh, boy. We live and breathe elections here. The trouble is, we're probably also breathing and or living with the coronavirus now. Ooh, we did that. It's been around for millions of years, so it ain't nothing new. American Enterprise Institute also examines the threat the pandemic poses to the global and national economies and suggests that the credit bubble spawned by years of ultra-low interest rates is about to bust. Ooh, most extraordinary 4 days in the history of presidential primaries. Biden seemed all but finished, and then he'd come up out of the grave. But the primary in South Carolina, he affected a turnout sufficient to give the political class whiplash. Well, politics ain't going to go away, but here's a nice one. Homebrew sanitizer. I'll give you some in a minute. Here's a joke made by Jim Bob. He's got a guy. He says, they say it's very contagious. And the girl standing next to him is giving him a dirty look. She says, the fear? Uh-huh. I'm going to tell you right now, you want something that works? Rubbing alcohol ain't it. Hello. You want something that works? Oh. It's pretty nice stuff, too. Smells a little funky, but that's all right. There's a kind of, oh, my boy, I'm getting too old to get up. There's a kind of stuff that's pretty common. Everybody's got it pretty much, and you can get a hold of it pretty easily. It's really simple. There's a lot of different brands out there, but it is apple cider vinegar. You want to stop any kind of fun and games? Rinse your hands with a little bit of that, about a capful. It will kill just about anything known to man. I just love it. I drink this stuff. You can actually drink it. It's pretty cool. So, there you go. That's homebrew. That's the homebrew. If you want to put yourself together, host defense, dandelion. Think about this now. These are things you get at the health food store. Sometimes some groceries or whatever might have them. Host defense. That's the one with a lot of mushrooms. Dandelion. Oh, Lord. I'm trying to think of the other one. I keep having to walk in the other room and look around. This is getting interesting. My mind is moving on in a different direction. Okay. Host defense, dandelion. Where is it? Come on now. I got one dandelion there and one up here. Interesting. And zinc. If you take all three of those regularly, not only won't you get the regular old getting sick stuff, you won't get no coronavirus either. It can't handle it. Now, there's various things in there that are really nice. Anybody out there got a cat? Lady standing there, cat's all curled up on the chair. Cat to get the hell out of her chair, and she says, "Am I talking to myself?" Ever try to herd cats? Oh, that's a lot of fun. Oh boy. Revolution interrupted. Bernie withdrew. Bye, Bernie. Can you feel the burn? Well, he got burnt. All of a sudden, he didn't have anybody funding him. That makes it hard to run a campaign. Oh, boy. Joe Biden's resurrection. I'm sorry, bud. He's still asleep. Gets lost in his own driveway. Don't know who his wife is. And you want the boy to run the country? Give me a break. Coronavirus. A threat to the global economy? Now, it's not global, but more like states. Certain places have only a couple of cases. Coronavirus, a threat to the global economy. Good. Why it's time for President Trump to put America first on hold and lean into multilateral institutions. Bullshit. We don't even have institutions here that ain't global, that can't handle what's going on. The global credit bubble spawned by years of ultra-easy monetary policy may now be finally bursting. The hunt's saving grace. There isn't any. Much like the contemporary knives out, the hunt excels at demonstrating the dynamic of how liberal elitists communicate and conceptualize a flyover country. Not really. It lacks in just about everything. The movie coming out, is made in order to inflame the cause chaos and create their own violence, and then try to blame it on others. Awkward reception from the test screening audience. Ain't nobody wants to hear the dumb shit. Here's a good question. The Hunt asks, is our current political polarization really the result of the other side being slothful, or are we already primed to think the worst of each other? Separation of people? Is anybody getting separated now? And if so, how? Lawmakers grapple with coronavirus. Well, really? They didn't bother to vote when they could have. They canceled recess and they didn't show up. Are they really doing anything? Is this just a show? I'm getting a feeling it very well may be. When they don't vote when they could to our benefit, that tells me they really don't give a shit about us. Child exploitation bill earns strong opposition from encryption advocates. Critics call introduced legislation and end around for privacy protections. Maybe. I'd like to know where they get the idea that we had any privacy to begin with. Well, we so obviously don't. Coronavirus is interrupting renewable energy's global supply chain. Oh, my goodness. Solar Energy Industries Association. How long is the industry going to be disrupted? In the U.S., how is it going to employees? Are we going to see installations shut down to be put on hold because people are limited in travel? A lot of good questions, no answers. Why not? Ask a senator. I'll get back to you on that. Twitter faces fire from Democrats and Republicans over media policy, manipulated media, and there is going to be some fun and games on this. The updated policy states that a user may not deceptively share synthetic or manipulated media that are likely to cause harm. Well, there's a whole bunch of politicians that need something harmful done to them. Wake them up. Twitter applied its new manipulated media label to a 100% real, 100% authentic, 100% unedited video of Joe Biden, the letter said. He wrote a letter about it. In order for American elections to remain free and fair, it is critical that the Biden campaign be held to the same standard it is demanding should apply to others. Therefore, Donald Trump, for President Incorporated, is formally requesting that Twitter apply its new manipulated media label to a doctored and deceptively edited video tweeted by the Biden campaign less than a week ago. Lawmakers should provide a basic regulatory framework for social media and tech companies to deal with blatant disinformation and hate speech that goes viral from their platforms. This means there's no free speech. What this means is that you're not allowed on their platform to have an opinion. Talk about taking freedom and throwing it in the trash. Chuck Schumer's court threat to play big 2020 role. Yeah, it sure will. Schumer opened the door to becoming the GOP poster boy. He said, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Oh, because they disagree with you, you pansy. Chuck Schumer and Washington Democrats embrace of far-left job-killing policy will haunt Senate candidates across the map. We need people in there that give a shit about the people. Schumer's unpopularity, Gallup, he's down to 31%. Oh, boy. Now, here's a good one. Remember that sanctuary crap? Turn over a crook to local authorities, and the illegal alien gets loose? Border chief won't hand over criminals to sanctuary cities. They're going to just straight up deport all their asses. Business closed. Investors wondering what comes next. More hemorrhaging. Close it, and stocks are sold for the money. Oh, there's two or three things going on in the hierarchy of things. Very simply, the oligarchs, anybody that's got money, primarily, are looking for don't have to look for money, but There's a lot of people out there that are too invested, and what they're looking for first is money. Why? The second is food, and you got to be able to pay the grocery bill. Here we go. Now this is critical, and this is again, as I've labeled it, Los Angeles riots, 1992. All the way back in 2010, Turchin warned that the historical patterns were lining up to indicate a coming period of instability and violence in America. Well, people have not had to get violent yet, shoot anybody to get groceries. I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility. A Russian historian predicting chaos. In past years, Americans saw footage of other countries' parliaments devolving in all-out brawls. Oh, they were punching each other. But today, with the right triggering event, Congress could erupt into a fist fight. This intense atmosphere of polarization now runs right through America's elite, very top of the to the precarious but highly educated lower tiers of elites who are left scrambling for positions in media, academia, and politics. Ooh. Russian historian and scientist Peter Turchin. That's who I was just quoting from a minute ago. To identify, he studied this stuff. That's all he does, to identify patterns of socio-political instability over the centuries. Now, what we got is a reason to be unstable, a real big reason. Resolute refusal by our ruling class, including its both liberal and conservative wings, to see the real cause of the crisis. Anybody see any real cause shut everything down? I don't. GOP's senior strategy. Republicans have a new strategy of putting more conservative judges on the federal courts this year. Okay, well, I think there's a lot of things that are on hold right now. Democrats' slow buildup of conservatives in the federal judiciary scares the shit out of them. Senior status, there's a problem with all this. Gurdon, Biden, old man in the new world. Biden, I'm going to say, is incompetent. If Obama really thought Biden was right for the presidency, he didn't endorse him. Woo-hoo. It's not just Bernie brothers who are uncomfortable with Joe Biden. The only thing Hillary Clinton inspired Kayasa to do 4 years later was not vote at all. This is a guy that, they're looking at. This concerns everybody. Here we go. The end of globalization is here. True. This is Hannon. And this is the Washington Examiner, March 17th, this year. The coronavirus didn't mark the end of globalization. It accelerated a malign trend that was already underway. Remember this. Now they're saying that Trump is using theatrical gestures. Dude, that's BS, and you know it. And all this is symbolic. Right. Trump wouldn't be acting this way if it were not popular. In a crisis, people want to pull up drawbridges. It is how our archaic fight or flight response works in modern conditions. As the actual illness, rather than fear of the illness, spreads, the mood will harden. Psychologists have observed that when we are suffering from a cold or flu, we become warier in our outlook and more authoritarian in our politics. Whoa. It goes on and on. Common good, capitalism, or to put it more neutrally, the absence of unnecessary coercive or punitive law is the common good. We'll miss it when it's gone. I don't think it's going anywhere. Soldier Sanders, how Biden steamrolled Hillary while Hillary struggled. Ending statement. Democrats in 2020 just don't want to screw things up. That's it. A whole column, and he made one statement. Carney, contagion in an age of alienation. We can do better. America contracted the pandemic, coronavirus, dying from a plague of loneliness. Yeah, that's right. We were separated pretty heavy before. Although we're generally coming apart as a society, tough times usually brings us together. The novel coronavirus has inflamed a pre-existing condition that was killing America: alienation. Three reasons Biden will never be president. I'd say the big one is he's incompetent. Greer, pornography restriction for realists. Too few care about that. If somebody wants to watch porn on the internet, let them do so. Now, now that I've covered all of that stuff, it is time for just a little bit of the fun and games that come up with all of this. Let's see what we got on Cosmic Voice. I'm going to answer some questions. You remember I used to do that out loud, or we used to. Want to participate? It's coming. When it's time, I'll put a notice on Facebook, and everybody can jump on. Oh boy, Pam, you're not going to see what you are looking for in the way you think you're supposed to see it. Doesn't work that way. They all have to be stopped, including their offspring. Well, I don't think I can lay it to everybody. It's either their offspring, or our offspring. I vote for the good people to survive and thrive. Well, exactly. Listen to the show, I said. Here we go. I see Jason Nichols got me in a picture here. I ain't got that fuzzy beard anymore, Jason. Maybe I ought to get everybody a new picture. Don't you think it would be the perfect time for ET to show up? I do, and I've been up there whatever's about it. Why not now to pick some of the bad guys and run off? Now, Fanes. Haven't swallowed the ET pill yet. Well, you might want to get used to the idea of swallowing hard. The interesting thing is going to happen is you're going to see a shitload of landings in the very near future. When will reports of all the deep state deaths and arrests be verified to us? Everything be on its way. Now, a lot of people don't follow things the way they probably should, and that's one of them. The ideology of survival is pretty simple. In terms of the big board, you got two things to watch. The first is the level of the market. If it continues to fall and it goes below 18, the world financial system is in trouble. Why? Well, America is the host of the reserve currency. Puts us in a catbird seat of sorts, and gives us the capability of calling things to happen. Now, to all the naysayers and people that don't have anything good to say about anybody, I'm going to hit you on the head with it. Here's how it is, and here's what you can expect to see. There's two roads, all right? That's a two-way street. Traffic going one way, traffic going the other way. Today, there ain't no traffic. They told everybody to stay at home. Well, what does that do? That means that the travel, the expense, the costs involved are no longer needed. So the situation is very simple. Oil companies are having a real terrible time getting people to buy gasoline. Why? They don't need it. Very simple. Kids either walk to work or walk to school, or they get picked up by the school bus. And the only people that are going to be using fuel are essential services. That's doctors going to the hospitals running ambulances, going to schools if they're open, and most of them are closed, so that sort of screws that up. Let's take it to the next step. If you're not buying that burger from wherever, that place has got problems. If you're not stopping in to get a magazine or a newspaper or whatever from a local supplier, they got problems. Here's where the rubber meets the road. From 29 down to 19 is right at 10,000 points. That's right at 50%. Like I have said before, there is a break point. It's right around 18. I haven't figured out exactly where it is. It might be 17 something. It might be 18 something. However, when everything shuts down, and this is worldwide now, bear that in mind. All of a sudden, we can't get some of the components of the antivirus. Think about it. Can't get the drugs, the chemicals and whatnot to make the stuff work. Well, that leaves the ones that are already here, obvious, and ready to go. I suggested 2 or 3 shows ago that we employ immediate availability of this to anybody you want a shot of this stuff. We'll see if it works. Now that could be something that was designed for a mosquito bite, or it could be something that other people wouldn't even consider. It's sort of like thalidomide was supposed to be doing certain things, and then they found out it cured leprosy rapidly. Okay, well, they've been shooting people up with that particular drug, and the drug. The neat part about it is, ain't no side effects, other than you might get a funny taste in your mouth and get thirsty. Other than that, there ain't any side effects. Doesn't affect anything else. Malaria is an interesting drug in that it is prolific all over the world. Second part of it is that it's similar to the coronavirus. So let's go, Mr. Trump. Emergency orders. Send in the Marines if you got to, but get this stuff in bulk. And I noticed that somebody said they were fast tracking. That means the people are not paying attention to the FDA and the CDC in terms of we're going to make sure it's safe, so it takes 6 months. No, well, it's going to take us at least 6 weeks to know anything about it, dude. We need it now, not down the road, not next year or any of that. The fun and games of all this is that there are several issues out there. One is survival. There's not that many people that know how to survive. There's a lot of people who know how to go camping and more. Those are the people that may survive. Now, I said may, if this all goes in the toilet. What happens when society isn't there anymore? You don't have that backup for the podunks, snowflakes, and idiots that don't know how to operate a can opener. You're in deep shit. You'd be lucky to make it out of your neighborhood, let alone anywhere else. The people that are prepped know something about it, know how to shoot a gun, can hunt a little bit. You got it. You got it going on. So what happens? We find out when it falls over. When the central banks can no longer provide liquidity, and I hate to tell you this, but no, the printing presses have not been running off shitloads of money. They supposedly already had the money, and that's where the fun begins. How long is it going to be before I get some grocery money? Well, what do I do in the meantime? Well, there are a lot of churches that have supplementation for people that don't have anything to eat. And believe me, just about anything's better than going hungry. I have been hungry. We were in the mountains, the highlands in Vietnam, this way back when, but I have no food or water for a week. And we only carried like 2 days' rations. So you begin to get the idea. You think about sitting home being hungry. Think about, the neat thing, one of them, is popcorn. Alleviates hunger, fills you up. If you really are in dire need of some kind of something to cause your belly to feel full, take about a half or so teaspoon of dry rice and swallow it. Swallow it down with a glass of water. Your belly's going to swell. All that's going to swell up in your belly. You're going to feel full. How many teaspoons are in a pound of rice? Quite a few. You can go for quite a few days. Well, that buys you the time necessary to get your shit together. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a lead from some people that do know what's going on, do know how to get there, and follow them. If they have a place for you where you can go, consider yourself really lucky. Now, everything's shut down. They say until the end of the month. This is the 21st, and we got 10 days to the end of the month. That's on Tuesday after next. A lot of places are going to supposedly reopen. I keep hearing rumors that China has already opened everything back up. Well, I'm sorry, but my boots on the ground in China are not going along with that. Somebody fed somebody some horse hockey, and they believed it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, meaning don't accept things that are not what you should be doing. Like I told you, add a little apple cider vinegar, like a capful. Rub it on your hands. It kills it. And I mean, not only it, but all kinds of stuff that you don't want on your hands. Then wash your hands, and then do it again. A couple capfuls. You realize how long a quart will last? One capful at a time or so. There you go. You can get the idea. You can get this stuff just about anywhere. Most of the groceries do carry apple cider vinegar. That's just one. Then you have host defense, which is a derivative of about 20 different mushrooms. And believe me, it'll boost your immune system like you don't believe. The second one is dandelion. It stops just about everything that might be missed by the host defense. And then you got zinc. Now, they have a product that they've been advertising the crap out of. If you don't want your cold to last so long, if you want it to be a lot milder, take this. The primary ingredient that does this is zinc. Well, zinc's simple. It keeps the thing from attaching to your cells. That's pretty cool. So where are we at? Well, we're kind of halfway in the middle of things. If you've got a cabin or something in the woods, pack your shit and go there. Bring all the non-perishable and canned goods you can bring. Do not put yourself in a situation of not having nothing. You need to have something that is of value in terms of being able to eat, and you may not like the results. It may not be the greatest, but you won't be starving either. So, it's a situation where we don't have a choice. That's right. We weren't given a choice. Did anybody get to vote on whether or not we shut everything down? No. Somebody decided for us that this was the thing to do and the way to go. And believe me, this is not a good idea. Oh, we got to separate out the infected from the uninfected. How about you just douche them in apple cider vinegar? Give them what I told you to take in terms of antiviral supplements, and go about your business. I mean, it's not difficult to understand how this works. Now, I'm going to play you a song. It has to do with wintertime. And you guys are going to have to get your stuff together. Most, I'll say this again, is the last sentence in my little diatribe I made. Most will not survive if everything goes in the toilet. So, and just what do you think is coming? I can tell you what's coming. We have 2 roads to go. And this is not going to be pretty. I mean, it took 21 years to rebuild after the Great Depression. This is worse. Lots worse. There were places that were open for business. Now, here's what we got. We're down to survival level. You become a prepper if you didn't prepare for some of this. And, yeah, I'm talking about a combination of cash under the mattress and that sort of shit. If you didn't put food up, you ain't got water and a gun. You better have a gun. Why? Some of these people that don't have nothing are going to come after what you got. That's why. And they may be armed, so you want to be on equal footing at least. Now, I've stipulated it twice. I'm going to say it one more time. Most will not survive if this happens now. Most of the kids and people that don't have any experience and haven't done anything in their whole life ain't going to make it. You can't operate a can opener. You're done, dude. If you don't know how to open a can of beans with a can opener, I mean, what are you going to do if there ain't a can opener? How are you going to open it? You ain't going to do it with your teeth, I can tell you that.